let me know when I should begin.
Go? Like now, because it's live? All right. What's up, everyone? Jen here we have another amazing live stream in our crowdfunding series. Last week we did Patreon, so if you haven't seen that, you definitely have to go on youtube.com/channel to go see the Patreon live stream that we talked about. And this week it's Indiegogo with Mark here. So just quick introductions. You probably all know me. I'm Jennifer. I'm an MCN manager here for the network. I'm in charge of rounding up all these great live streams for you guys. If you have any idea of a good live stream that you want to see, just totally let me know. Send me an email, and I will do my best to organize all the live stream ideas. Also with me, I have Nate. He's sitting right next to me. Yep, and Nate, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, I'm the director of marketing at FredWriter. I also handle licensing city, and I was, as we talked about last week, but not in there, I helped manage the Be a Puppy Cat Kickstarter that we ran last fall that raised almost $900,000 and launched a season of Be a Puppy Cat, which we'll see next year, later this year. It'll be awesome. So at FredWriter, we're very committed to crowdfunding. We think that it's an amazing way to market our products as well as raise funds. Making cartoons is not cheap. It takes a lot of money and resources. And the traditional ways of going about getting money take a long time, particularly for FredWriter, where we have a proven ability to raise funds to make cartoons go on television. That takes years. It takes so long. And for Be a Puppet Cat, we put the short up, and it was immediately obvious that. Sorry. Hearing myself feedback because I'm sitting next to Jen and it's driving me crazy.
Sorry.
Anyway, it was really obvious that Be a Puppy Cat was a very popular movie, good show, and it could be something really big. And we had some interest from television, but it was going to be like a year and a half until it came to screen. And it would be a very different show because it would have to be changed to get the audience of those cable networks and what they perceive their audience to be and their standards and practices. And as we looked at what our options were, we thought that crowdfunding was the fastest, most effective way of bringing the creator Natasha Allegri's vision to the screen. And not wrong. Another thing to remember is that cartoons, because they're so expensive, particularly on television, it takes years for them to become profitable. And so we expect FredWriter to run a lot more Kickstarters, a lot more crowdfunding. We got Indiegogo with Mark. It's like, talk about the Kleenex annexation of crowdfunding and calling it Kickstarter. Because Indiegogo, and that's we'll get to Mark in a second, but Indiegogo has had some of the biggest crowdfunding moments, especially for film and video in the last few months. Bigger, in fact, to our chagrin, Mark reminded me what happened. One of our goals when we were funding the Puppy Cat was to beat Video Game High School 2 from Freddie Wong, which is a great show. I love Freddie, and I just actually talked to him the other day at the Webbies, and we talked about the story actually because our goal was to beat that. We want to be able to say that we had the biggest, most crowd-funded web series ever.
And you did for a short period of time.
Video Game High School 3 beat Puppy Cat on Indiegogo just a few months ago.
Yep.
And subsequently, I think we probably have, Mark, you have a lot of other options, examples, but when I think about Will Wheaton and his tabletop game.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
So this is a perfect segment to introduce Mark, who's with Indiegogo, and he's going to tell you all about Indiegogo and why to use it, when to use it, and how awesome it is. So take it away, Mark.
Cool. So as I try to navigate this screen share, here we go. Cool. So I'm just going to pull up our sort of film lab.
Tell us about
yeah, no, you first.
Okay.
Get rid of that.
So, how do I get rid of that?
You hit the green.
On the green button again.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
All right.
So, so I'm Mark Hofstetter. I'm the head of film and digital at Indiegogo. I've been here about a year, give or take. I come from a sort of varied background. I started off in independent film out of New York, where I'm from originally, Long Island, and worked for a company called October Films. which later consolidated into Focus Features. I came into LA about 13 years ago, worked at William Morris before I moved on to the Universal lot, where I was an executive. Later went to Fox as an executive, as a production executive as well, working on films big and small, as well as in some TV. More recently, before Indiegogo, I was working in the digital content space, producing content for YouTube channels like Nerdist Industries. And as I said, I came into Indiegogo about last August, so literally almost a year ago at this point. My day-to-day, really quickly, is engaging with filmmakers and creators, sharing who we are as a company and how we can help you, the creator and filmmaker, fund your dream, essentially. Obviously, for the last 15 years or so that I've been working with filmmakers and creators, you understand, I understand, and obviously you do as well, that when you're spending time to write something, or in this case, animate something, much more so with animation, obviously, it's not something you take lightly. You don't just say, I'm going to do this thing and see what happens. Those people who do say that ultimately are people who shouldn't be doing what they're doing. They're doing it on a whim, not because they love it or they have a passion for it. And that's where passion comes in with crowdfunding. Passion is what drives the campaign, both from the campaigner point of view, but also from the funder point of view. And we see that with the Freddie Wongs. I mean, Freddie has, if I'm correct, about 6 million subscribers to his YouTube channel. Or at least it had been 6 million. And he had run 2 successful crowdfunding campaigns on another platform. But he came to Indiegogo, and one would have thought maybe for the 3rd time around, he wouldn't be as successful as he had been previously. But in fact, he was even more successful on Indiegogo than he had been, by roughly $90,000 on the video game High School 3, and over 600 new funders that he hadn't had before. So he broke records on both accounts. And I'll go into more case studies as sort of we progress. But in a very sort of succinct way, before I go into the presentation, and also breeze through it because a lot of it you may already know, a lot of you may have already heard about best practices and so forth. We'll concentrate more on the differentiators between us and other platforms. But in terms of us as a platform, who we are, where we are in the space, so we are by definition the original crowdfunding platform. Despite what many other people may think or hear, we launched before anybody else. The term crowdfunding didn't even exist when we launched in January 2008 at Sundance at the film festival. We don't love the term crowdfunding because people hear funding, they hear money, but again, as I said earlier, it's about passion, about engaging your crowd or your audience. That's what comes first. The funding, it's number 2 or 3 on the list. And again, we'll get more into that in the presentation. But so, as an original crowdfunding platform, we're also the only global one. Global meaning that we're not only available in every single country, we have seen projects funded and created in over 200 countries and territories around the world. Again, that's also because of one of our differentiators, which I'll get into in a second. We're also the only open platform. Open meaning that there's no application process. Anyone can crowdfund anything from anywhere. We don't decide as a company who can and cannot crowdfund. Others do. They curate. We say it's not for us to decide, it's for the crowd. So without further ado, I'll do the screen share and pull this up, and we can sort of walk through some of the good stuff.
Go ahead and just real quickly remind everyone to submit all of your answers. There is a delay on the live stream. Questions, not answers. We will talk about the answers. But there's about a 3 to 5 minute delay So if we don't get to your question right away, that's fine. We will answer it. There's a handy little question and answer box right to the right. So just throw in any and all questions, and we will definitely get around to them.
Okay, I'm gonna in terms of the scroll, I just want to ask one real quick question about the screen share. The scrolling, I'm scrolling on the original document, not on the screen within Google Hangout.
Yeah, you're scrolling on the document.
Okay, great. There we go. So let me pull that up. Let me pull up the original document. There it is. Okay, cool. So we are, as I mentioned, the original crowdfunding platform. We've been around for 6.5 years at this point. And here we go. So at Indiegogo Film is our Twitter handle. There's also the main Twitter handle at Indiegogo Film. At Indiegogo. Each has its own purpose. As I said earlier, we, as you can tell by the collage here, we're not just creative projects. We're technology. We are gaming. We are nonprofit, music, comics, anything and everything. Moving forward, so here we are. So Indiegogo, as I mentioned, world open as a global platform, and the reason why we're global is because of our payment options. So Indiegogo we use PayPal, credit cards, and wire transfers to fund our projects or have them funded. Other platforms use more restrictive payment options because of PayPal, because of credit cards, because you don't have to sign up to pay for a perk on a campaign. That means we're available everywhere. Whether it be from Mali or France or United States. And the reason why that works so well is because in terms of our crowd, in terms of people who are funding projects, is because if you can run a campaign in France, if you can run a campaign in Argentina, if you can run a campaign in Italy, that means that people, your friends, your family, they're all aware you're running that campaign because ultimately they're the ones who are funding your campaign first, your inner circle, if you will. Those individuals will then be aware of, they will then be aware of the platform and therefore be more likely to fund other projects. So, and that goes really well. I mean, for example, Freddie Wong and Video Game High School 3 had contributions from over 41 countries around the world. And that was one of the reasons why, after being on another platform twice over, and being very successful, he came to us was because of PayPal. A lot of his community, a lot of his fans were overseas. They were in Asia specifically, and they couldn't easily contribute because a company like Amazon Payments wasn't available to them. So it became much more difficult. With us, we sort of create that sake of ease. And as I have that document, I'm realizing it may not be the best one to share with you, but I'll provide something for Renee and Jennifer to get you all on Monday, which will be more breakdown as far as the easiest sort of differentiators. But I can, since I know them by heart, I can speak to them. So as I mentioned, we are an open platform, no application process. If you literally wanted to launch an Indiegogo campaign while we're having this conversation, you could. I wouldn't recommend it, if only because it takes time and preparation to launch a campaign, and you want to do it right. You get one chance to do this, and to do it the wrong way, it hurts your brand, it hurts you as a creator, so you want to take the time and the effort to prepare. That means, what does that mean? That means laying out your updates. You should be doing an update every 2 to 3 days. You should be tweeting out every single day, but always about new content, sharing information. if you're tweeting about, if your tweet is give me money, help me, donate now, and you're doing that 5 times a day, you're doing it wrong. But if you're tweeting once every 5 days, you're also doing it wrong, because like a shark, social media, crowdfunding is an extension of social media. You don't gain followers, you don't gain fans by talking to them once a week. You're talking to them every day. It's like when you go to a restaurant. When do they give you the free drink? When do they give you the free dessert? It's when you're showing up, on a regular basis. And that's what crowdfunding is. You're showing up on a regular basis. You're talking to your fans. You're talking to your crowd, and then they follow you. They give you that free dessert. They give you that free drink. So what are the other differentiators between us and the other platforms? Quite simply, to open, we discussed that. Payment options, we discussed that. Okay, so the one that maybe some of you most well know is that with Indiegogo, you have the option to keep what you raise. What people don't also know is that you have the option to be an all-or-nothing campaign. So we always like to say we're the best of both worlds, of all worlds actually. So with us, there's fixed funding, which is all or nothing. There is flexible funding, which is keep what you raise. Now, people ask, the question I get most is, okay, so if a campaign trying to raise $100,000 and they raise $25,000, can they really make the thing that they're trying to make?
Mark,
and I say, yes, go ahead.
I just want to say, if you're screen sharing, we're not seeing it, but if we're...
Yeah, no, I took it down. I realized I took it down because I realized it was not the file that I wanted to share.
Oh, okay. Just check.
It's not going to be as effective to you guys, but I'll get you that document, which we'll be able to share with everybody. Yeah. So, so the question I get in regards to flexible funding is, what if what if somebody raises $25,000 out of a $100,000 goal, and they need the $100,000 to actually make this thing? Do they just take the $25,000 and run, or will it just sit? Will they never make it? And my answer is, and I think this applies across the board, is that if you're passionate about your project, if you take the time and the effort, and it's not an easy effort to run a crowdfunding campaign for 30 or more days, you are going to find a way to make your film or your series. And so what we see in independent film, what we see in online content, is that most often these projects do not get all their funding from one source. I'll give you an example in the feature film world. The movie The Butler, it had 40 producers on it. The reason why it had 40 producers on it was because it took years and many, many, many financing entities to make that film. And Oprah was involved in that film. So if Oprah takes years and multiple producers to go off and make a movie through different sources, it is 110% viable and logical that if someone runs a flexible campaign, doesn't raise their goal, they should be able to go off and take that smaller percentage and use it towards taking that next step, whether it's creating a proof of concept reel, a sizzle reel to shop to other investors, equity investors, or to bring it to another individual and grab a grant, or to start the process of animating the project. We believe that they should have that option, and we give it to them. And it's a transparency thing too. If a funder looks at it and says, well, I'm not sure if this is the right campaign for me. And that's what we always say. It's up to the funder to decide, is this campaign for me to contribute to? Am I not just a fan, but do I believe in what they're doing? And so it's up to you as the campaign owner to convince them that you are the campaign to contribute to, that they are doing the right thing. And that's mainly by showcasing who you are, your abilities, making a direct and emotional connection to the crowd, letting them feel what you're feeling, and explaining to them why you're doing it. So that's flexible funding and fixed funding. Another great option with us, and I'll pull up a campaign right now that'll showcase it, is you have the option to embed your campaign on your own native website. I'm sure a lot of you out there have your own personal websites that showcase your content, your work. Some of you may actually merchandise from your own websites. So with Indiegogo, we invented sort of a white label solution. But again, the best of all worlds, where you have the ability to embed your campaign. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Let's see if I can do this. Hold on one second. Where you can embed your campaign on your own website, and if it works, there we go. There we go. So this is a campaign that ran about a year ago, but it's a sort of a nice looking one. So as you can see, it's got the old logo on it, so it's a little bit of an older one. But as you can see with this campaign, their own website, all embedded, very easy, easy breezy. And what's great about this is that not only does this campaign live, and here's a store, not only does this campaign live on your own website, it also lives on Indiegogo.com. So we have over 9 million unique visitors every single month and growing. We've seen 1,000% growth as a company in the last 2 years alone. Just 2 weeks ago, we got another round of investment from Richard Branson from Virgin, one of the co-founders of PayPal, the chairman of Yahoo. And prior to that, and that was 2 weeks ago, in January, we got $40 million of new funding. So as we continue to grow our international presence, which is part of where that money is going to go to, you'll see that not only having your own campaign on your own website will be valuable, but also having it on mirrored at the same time on Indiegogo.com will be valuable, because you'll get that organic stranger dollars on Indiegogo, as well as, again, on your own native website. Tabletop, they did it. That was a Will Wheaton web series with Geek and Sundry, raised $1.4 million. Freddie Wong did it for Video Game High School 3, raised $898,000. Wong Fu Productions, and these are all YouTubers. They raised $358,000 on a $250,000 goal. They did it on their own website. And so that's a great option to have, to be able to, again, have your own website, have the ability to have a store, have the ability to do whatever you want, and then also have Indiegogo.com. What other differences are there? Okay, so we as a company, we always pride ourselves. This is what I think the biggest differentiator is from us and all our platforms, is that we've always prided ourselves on being hands-on and personal. And I'm not just saying that because I think I'm a nice guy. I'm saying that because it's true. So we're headquartered in San Francisco. I'm based in Los Angeles. We have an office in New York, Toronto, London, Berlin, and Sydney, Australia. Asia and South America are coming very shortly, and further offices in Europe as well. And we have nearly 100 employees through all of that. But even though we have roughly 7,000 campaigns running on the site every single day, and we've seen over 200,000 campaigns run during the lifetime of the company, anybody who wants to get in touch with Indiegogo can. Anybody who wants feedback can get it. Anybody who wants advice can get it. We're the only ones who've ever released our a handbook, if you will, for each of our different verticals. We have a handbook that we released, a film handbook that we released about 6 weeks ago, which I'll also include in my email to the guys at Federator, and they'll pass it along to you. And I will gladly say, Anytime you want to email me or even call me, you can. I'll put it into the question chat room, but my email address is very simple, Mark, M-A-R-C, at Indiegogo.com. My phone number is 310-307-6992. And the reason why we make ourselves accessible is because we know that when you're crowdfunding, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of concerns. As I said, this is your brand. You want to protect it. You want to be able to get it out there in the strongest way possible and the smartest way possible. And as a company that's been doing it longer than anybody else, who better but us to give you direct advice and feedback on how to not only achieve your goal, but blow past it. 89%.
I'm going to jump in that and say that Frederator, we decided to do a Kickstarter for me and Puppy Cat for a number of different reasons, so we talk more about it. But we actually hired a consultant to help us navigate doing a Kickstarter, as opposed to what Mark is saying is that Indiegogo itself will provide that feedback. And they already have provided feedback to creators in our network who are running Indiegogo campaigns. Really amazing feedback. Stuff that we had to pay for to get our Kickstarter.
Yeah, and the really in-depth stuff too. I mean, they're on top of their game. It's very impressive.
Well, that's what we pride ourselves on. As I said, that's what I sort of go to as the #1 differentiator. And even though we are, one of the big boys, so to speak, as some people may say, in the crowdfunding space, we don't like to treat ourselves like that. The reason why we are who we are as a company is because, we didn't go out there trying to be splashy and spend a gajillion dollars on a marketing campaign. We spent the time, the effort, the money to build what's under the hood of the company. And so that's when you lift it up and you take a look at the engine, so to speak. And I'm making a car analogy, even though I know nothing about cars. Everything's in fine working order. So that's really the big differentiator, I think, of everything that I've sort of spoken to. Let me see if I can just pull up a couple of campaigns here, animated campaigns here, animation campaigns. Here we go. Here's one out of Canada. So Captain Canuck, and this one ran. Okay, this ran about literally a year ago. Ended a year ago this past week. And you can see here that they had 32 updates, 197 comments. And what's really great about that is that they took the time to keep in touch and keep tabs on their crowd. You'll sometimes see campaigns that have maybe 1 or 2 updates spread out over a period of 3 or 4 weeks. And what I always say is that with Indiegogo, you have the ability to not only contribute once, but more than once. And they really did some great design work here, as you can see. The more you can really sort of spell out for people, and by that I mean with pictures, what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, and what you're offering up, it really goes a long way. People like pictures.
Hey Mark, what do you mean by that you donate more than once? Okay,
so on other platforms, you are restricted to, and platform to platform is different, but on a lot of platforms you're restricted to just contributing and buying 1 perk. And so within Indiegogo, you can say, well, you know what? Look, there's a T-shirt here, which I like. It's not part of any other perk package. I already got, the digital download. Now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to get a 2nd perk. And you can do that with Indiegogo. You can't always do that with other platforms.
How often do people do that?
Actually, more often than not. And that's why those updates are important. Those updates are important because those updates that I was pointing to, those 32 updates that Captain Canuck had, those updates go out to everybody who's following your campaign and anyone who's contributed to it. So if I contributed to a campaign, if I funded a campaign in the first week of it, and I didn't hear from that campaigner ever again, I forget all about it. I'm busy, I have things to do, I'm going to school, or I'm going to work, I have family, I'm out there in the dating world, whatever your life is, we all get busy and you forget about things you did 3 weeks ago. But if those campaign updates are coming in on a regular basis, and by that again, I mean every 2 to 3 days, you will be reminded of it. And if a new perk has been introduced, which you can do on Indiegogo, you can swap perks out, in and out, all you want. And it's actually really a great thing in terms of gauging market value. If you have a perk that you think is awesome, but no one's buying it, by the second week of your campaign, if no one's bought it, get rid of it, bring in a new one. Fresh blood new blood is always welcome. And so those updates can update people who have contributed or following the campaign and alert them to those new perks. And so they're more likely to come back to the campaign. Or if you tell them in the update, hey, we're about to hit this milestone, but we need your help in getting the word out, then as someone who's funded it, you'll be more likely to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to tell my friends about this. I forgot to do it the first time when I contributed, but now that they're so close, I'm going to tell everybody because I really want to see this happen. And so that's something you can do. Yeah, so that's sort of that. Oh, and another thing with the perks, this isn't always useful to everybody, but it can be. There is no perk limit on Indiegogo, meaning that in terms of the value of the perk, on other platforms it's limited to $10,000. Internationally, it's limited to, I believe, 5,000 pounds.
5,000 pounds, yep.
Yeah. So on Indiegogo, there is no limit. So if you really wanted to have a $25,000 perk or a 50,000 pound perk, you can do it. You just have to think about, do you have enough of a crowd? Do you have a rich enough crowd that would be willing to buy that? It never hurts that. Sorry, go ahead.
It would be a puppy cat. Before we learned about the limit on Kickstarter of $10,000, we toyed with the idea of offering $1 million, which essentially would be an equity position in Frederator. So that that's kind of funny that Indiegogo offer that. There's so many possibilities there.
We had one campaign back in the fall. It was a film campaign. It got a $150,000 contribution from a high net worth individual out of Australia, and it was he bought multiple. He arranged it with the filmmakers, essentially to create a perk on his behalf. He wanted to get this special package. Basically, it was an independent film. It was a very interesting campaign. It's called Reach Me. It actually came over to Indiegogo from another platform for that exact reason. It's an independent film that starts Sylvester Stallone, Kelsey Grammer, and even though it has these big stars, it was a really independent film. They had no budget, and this individual in Australia just wanted to be a part of that, and that's sort of what you're really, I hate to use the word selling, but I'm going to say rather putting in front of your crowd that you're providing them an experience. So they're giving you funding for your project, for your dream, for whatever you want to do, and in return, you're giving them the experience that they want to have. So whether it's you're a fan of Bravest Warriors or Adventure Time, or Natasha and being Puppy Cat, the fact that you can sort of pull back the curtain and allow them to see what you're doing, they love that. I guarantee you that when I was growing up, and I'm sure probably many of you would do the same thing, but looking at a movie like Back to the Future, or not, let's go into animation, Transformers and G.I. Joe, when they were on in the 80s, I watched them religiously. Fortunately, great things like Frederator, weren't around in their current form back then. I mean, Fred's been around for years, but these things did not exist. YouTube did not exist. This content did not exist. And so this is an opportunity in a time period where you have this ability to share these experiences, to pull back that curtain, that you're able to engage your crowd, not only allow them to feel more appreciated, and it's weird. It's weird that you can say, oh, they'll feel appreciated because I get them to pay for the project that they want to see. But it's sort of been that way all along, in different forms. Whether you're buying an album, that Guns N' Roses album back in the 80s, or going to go see Back to the Future Part 2, or 3, for that matter, the fact that you're giving your dollar showcases your love of something, your passion for something as a crowd member. But what's different now than then is that we're opening up that experience a bit further, so that it's not just you have a ticket, go see a movie. It's not just you have a CD, you put it in your car and you listen to it. Sure, you definitely don't listen to CDs anymore, but it's the idea that you can go to rock and roll fantasy camp, you can go to baseball fantasy camp, but in this case, it's Frederator fantasy camp. It's your project name here fantasy camp, where they get to see the behind-the-scenes process. They get that extra T-shirt or that badge for their Facebook page, whatever it is, or that social media, even just that simple social media shout out. People love that, and that's one of the great things about crowdfunding. That's a great thing about social media, and that's the great thing about living in the age that we live in, where that access is available to us, and it's only growing. People talk about is there a, and this is one of the final points that I'll make, and I'm curious to hear what you all think. Are there too many crowdfunding campaigns? I get asked that a lot, and quite simply, I don't think there are. It's like saying, are there too many books? Are there too many musicians? Are there too many filmmakers? True, the ability, the access to create those things is easier than ever, but it doesn't mean that everybody's on the same playing level. It's like the cream still rises to the top. If you look at a Netflix, for example, if you look at how they base their films, sure, the popular titles of are right there, right up front, and you go back about 7, 8, 9, 10 pages on the sci-fi section, or even the animation section, you'll see things you have never heard of, things that look dreadful. They still have an audience. People still watch them. And so with crowdfunding, the crowds will move to where they want to move to. And crowdfunding itself is becoming more and more sophisticated. And I think this is where the education from Indiegogo comes in, where it's helping you think about ideas that are outside the box. My colleague John Trigonis, who's based in New York, he's our head film campaign specialist. He calls them three-dimensional perks. Perks that are unique experiences that you will never ever get anywhere else. And that's one of the things that we like to impart upon our campaigner owners is be unique, be special, be that snowflake amongst the crowdfunding campaigns, and you will stand out. One of the perks that John always talks about is that someone offered up as a perk, and I forgot what the cost of it was, a ukulele song. A song on the ukulele written just for you. It's personable, it's direct, it's unique, it's funny. And it wasn't, I don't think it was any more than $50. And I think that speaks to you as a creator speaking to your crowd. Now, mind you, you don't want to create 500 of those songs, even if you have to repeat them in some way, shape, or form. But so you can always limit those perks. And again, these are all other best practices that are in our handbook. You want to remember that as an international company like Indiegogo, you're going to get contributions from Sweden, from Singapore, from Australia, and it's going to be expensive to ship to those places. So more often than not, sell experiences as perks, digital content as perks, and not tangible goods. Though we do have companies that are fulfillment centers in Europe and overseas that we can always connect you to. But you always have to bake that into your goal. I think I started saying this earlier, but I don't know if I got to finish the thought. The goal is a very important thing. Sometimes people think that, oh, I'll just have a high number because it'll look cool. Don't have a high number just because it looks cool. That's like having, $1,000 rims on your '84 Pontiac.
Depends on how nice the paint job is on the '84 Pontiac. But actually, we saw something as soon as we hit our goal on Kickstarter that we got so many more donations. If people want to back a winner, and
that's exactly
a psychological thing, and it becomes newsworthy when you meet a goal. So we consciously built something that was a minimum viable product for us, like the minimum viable amount of money that we needed to raise, and we made that the goal because we wanted to exceed it. We hoped that we would move past it, and then you have all these other opportunities to talk about the fact that you've gone so much past it, and there's more chances to get the word out. So it's something that you build in.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We always recommend be slightly conservative. You don't have to come in with a goal of $10, but come in just a little bit below what you really want, because you will fund faster and fund stronger by doing that. You only alienate people by going for that really, really high goal early. 89% of campaigns that hit their goal on Indiegogo go past it, and often by as much as, or rather, on average, 30%. That's what you really want to play to. It's a psychological thing as well. If you have a higher goal, and if you raise $75,000 in the first day on $1 million goal, that's really far. But if you raise 75 on a 750 goal, and I'm using these bigger numbers to sort of showcase just a little more clearly what the impact is. 750 goals and $1 million goals are not very common. So don't think you have to have a 750 or $1 million goal. But the $75,000 out of a 750 goal, that's 10%. $75,000 out of $1 million seems really, really small. So it's that psychological thing. And as Nate was saying, and I was just saying, the statistics are in your favor to overfund. So don't think that people stop when you hit your goal. And yeah, I mean that's sort of the real nuts and bolts of it. Like I said, I'll send over to the Frederator team just as sort of more of a one sheet about everything that I've just talked about, and hopefully that can provide further insight. And all of my contact information, as well as that of my colleagues, will be on there. As I said, I'm in Los Angeles. A good chunk of my colleagues are also in New York and San Francisco. But I don't know where some of you are based. But we're also in Toronto, London, Berlin, and Sydney, Australia.
So Mark, I have a question for you.
I'm just going to, before Nate starts, I'm going to interrupt all of you and just remind everyone that if you have any and all questions, now is the time to answer them or ask them. And just like I said on the side there's that little questions app. You can throw anything you'd like to ask right in there, and we will get to them. And now I will let Nate ask his questions.
So have you found a reward or a perk that works best on Indiegogo that for some reason people really gravitate to it?
Well, the most popular perk level is $25. The the average contribution is $75. So people, obviously, people do below, people do above 25, and the average out to 75. Digital downloads, quite honestly, are most popular. The content itself are the most popular. And so usually that digital download comes in at $25. That's usually for film. For a digital series, obviously it depends on the length of the series and all that's involved. So, but the $25 level is the most popular level.
What about, is there any rewards that you're like, don't do it, it doesn't do well, or like people think like, oh, it's a great idea, I'm going to draw everyone who donates $1 a picture, like, and then you have like a million pictures.
But that's it. That's exactly it. You want to be thinking about the back end. How is the fulfillment going to work? Because not only will it take money to create these things, it will take money to ship them, and also, excuse me, your time is also money. So if you have to spend a month of your life running the campaign, and then 5 months of your life doing fulfillment, you got to be careful. You know, I was on a panel yesterday here in Los Angeles with my counterpart from Kickstarter, and you know, their campaign manager is still doing fulfillment for Veronica Mars. Veronica Mars came out in the theaters and on DVD 2 months ago. So over a year later, they're still doing fulfillment. And you know, I think that sort of speaks to what their perks were. Again, we always say, do it digital. If you can offer up behind the scenes, you know, or early animatics, or sketch drawings, digital only, of course, or you know, wallpapers for your desktop, whatever it is, that stuff goes a long way. It's easy for people to fund those things, those perks, and it's easy for you to fulfill them. We actually have a great. Go ahead.
We had a lot of really awesome rewards that we offered to the CAF backers, but you know, we're going to be doing fulfillment for well over a year after the show comes out because of things like the DVD. That's really the biggest one.
Yeah.
If I was to do it again, when we do it again, I'm not offering the DVD at a low level.
Yeah.
We offer it at $50 or whatever, but it's something that few people want, but the people who get it, they have to wait until the series is done for animation, which is not till forever. And then the cost of authoring it, running it, and then filling it out, and the individual fulfillment is just it's a big burden. I would have actually, having done it again, I would have done a small plush item, a small toy, very small, that I would have given them out at that same price. Yeah, something more along the lines of this, or even smaller. That this costs wholesale as much as the DVD. You know, with all in, shipping is a little bit different, but something even smaller than that. Just something to think about, particularly for animation, where you can some of your animation products, you know, productions can be what we would call toyetic. You can make toys, and people want to have that physical artifact, that physical manifestation of the thing they love. And it's something that you can put into play immediately. And even though it takes 9 months for it to come out, that means that you can ship that as soon as the cartoon lands, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, in terms of the digital fulfillment, you know, one of our great partners that we have is a company called VHX. VHX, which is based in Brooklyn. They're a DIY self-distribution platform. Obviously, you know, we're talking to YouTubers, so you have YouTube as a platform. But
they're a partner of Federators too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they allow you to embed your they allowed you to embed your project, their player on your own website, much in the way that we allow you to embed your campaign on your website as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, for some weird reason, it seems like everyone's really quiet today. It might be because it's Friday, or it's mostly because you had such an in-depth presentation in the first place. Nate, was there any other questions you might have?
No, you had a pretty comprehensive
campaign.
I
Definitely.
think explanations. I think that, you know, we're particularly, Federator hasn't endorsed anyone in the platform, and it's not because you know, because we have our own preferences, but it's because there are certain circumstances that work for other people, and we want to make things differently. You know, the more that we look at Indiegogo, we really like it.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago, when we were planning this out, or just earlier, why Indiegogo had been around a long time, Kickstarter had become synonymous with crowdfunding, and we liked the stakes part of it. We had purposely chose because we think that adds drama and to the campaign. Knowing that Indiegogo has that, knowing that Indiegogo has some sort of, what did you call it?
I didn't mean.
You had either you take all the money you take, or you do a threshold or a goal.
Flexible.
You okay?
Joking.
Take a minute. Oh my gosh.
No, I'm sick like Nate, so.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone stay away from me.
So anyway, that factored into our decision in a big way. And then, how many of the 9 million uniques on Indiegogo, the website, are actually contributing, or do you expect to contribute in a certain amount of time?
Sorry, hold on.
It's okay. Do you need a minute?
Get water.
Nate
Yeah,
likes to talk. He can talk all day if you
Take
need
it
him
off for a
to.
second. I'm gonna grab a glass of water. Right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, now the questions are coming in. All right. Now that he's left, we will get to.
Oh, I think we can answer that one.
All right. Go for it.
So that's something that you could reach out to anyone. I mean, like, for us, Lord Revan. So what I would say is that you probably want to get involved with the other people in the Channel Frederator network on the Google Plus community, so that you could you're aware of what campaigns are going to happen. And actually, I would encourage all the Channel Frederator network people to, if they're contemplating about doing something, that they open up a thread on the Google Plus community and start a conversation about it. And you can really put forward like what the plan is for the campaign. And as Mark was saying earlier, you need to do a lot of planning to make this successful. I mean, we were intensely planning our Be a Puppy Cat Kickstarter for 60 days before we pulled the trigger on it. And that was
really intensely.
We spent so much time and energy. We looked at all sorts of things. And so you really need to do a lot of planning. And so in that case, you would have an opportunity to provide a reward or to help out, to help someone. It's just really good faith, a good faith effort on your part. Because if you choose to do a crowdfunding thing in the future, those people that helped you out are more inclined to endorse your campaign or help you, which can make a big difference. But we, as Channel Frederator, we have yet to do it, but we're going to establish our formal relationship with Indiegogo so that we'll have some sort of way that Channel Frederator can endorse your campaigns on Indiegogo, which we currently already do on Kickstarter, but we'll do it on Indiegogo. We will back it, and then we will also make sure that we promote it. You just have to make sure that your account manager, whoever that is, Kate or Jen, or so if you have Jake, are aware that you want to do some sort of crowdfunding, that you are what platform you're going to, and making sure that we're on board so that we can plan to do social media to support it. We might also help talk to you about the time of year. Mark, is there any particular time of year that you should be crowdfunding?
Well, the particular time of year that you should not be crowdfunding is that you should not be crowdfunding during a holiday.
Like Christmas.
Christmas, but also July 4th. You know, it's like people are telling me that their campaigns are going to end on July 4th, which is a Friday, which normally is a great day to end a campaign. But being that the 4th is actually a holiday, and that odds are most of that week people will already be away. Certainly that Thursday, people are away. They're going to be traveling to wherever they're going to. You're not in a good space. You're going to lose the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. People will be away those entire 4 days. So
that's also in videos uploads in general, everybody. Yeah. Like, don't post giant videos on holidays because people are away with their families and they're not on YouTube and they're not on their computers. So you can program content around those holidays because it's like evergreen content that there'll be search traffic year after year, but just don't post on the day or around the day. Yeah. Post like a few weeks beforehand.
No, it's okay. And there was a campaign that I'm talking to right now that it's already live on the site, where it's going to be live next week, where they're saying, okay, so we're not going to end during right before the holiday. We're going to go over the holiday and extend it by the extra 5 days, so we don't lose that entire 4-day weekend or 3.5-day weekend. But That said, you want to be able to schedule a couple tweets or posts via Hootsuite or TweetDeck to go up during those days. So do that in advance. It goes back to your planning. But other things to keep in mind about launching, you know, I went back and forth with this actually with the campaign manager earlier today. You know, is August a good month? August is sort of the most interesting of months because it's sort of the dog days of summer, leading into the Labor Day holiday here in the States. And so a lot of people are on vacation. But, you know, as the campaign manager and I agreed, if you have a following, if you're a known entity, and you're not just somebody coming out of nowhere with a campaign, your fans will follow you. Your fans will fund you wherever you are, whatever you're doing. They won't do it on a holiday because it's a holiday and they're off with their families and you can't change that. But if they're, you know, just hanging out over the summer, sipping, you know, iced tea and chilling about, and their head may be in a different space, but if they see something they love is running a campaign, and it's up to them as the funder, as the fan, as the crowd, to get involved and make it happen, they will make it happen. We always say that launching on a Friday is a bad idea. You need momentum going into the weekend. Tuesday and Wednesday are the best days, quite honestly. That's what you want to play to. Mondays are good. I think Tuesdays and Wednesdays are better statistically, simply because Monday people come back from the weekend, and if they're getting an email from you telling them to contribute to your campaign, some people don't look at their emails of their emails of the weekend. They may just hang out. So your email is in an inbox with a lot of other emails. So they may not see it right away. They may delete it by accident. So we always say Tuesday and Wednesday are good for those type of emails to go out. You know, in terms of web traffic, Monday is a good day. But in terms of getting that message out via direct access, and direct emails are always going to be your best friend in crowdfunding campaigns. Those are best reserved for Tuesday and Wednesday. And there was a question that I saw briefly, and it's disappeared, but the question was, how can I offer up my services as an animator? Well, not me, but them.
Right.
As a perk. And simply do just that. You know, we have a documentary that I'm thinking of right now. It's about the filmmaker Hal Ashby. Their weekend, they're halfway funded to their $50,000 goal. They got picked up by 5 or 6 major film news outlets, including Filmmaker Magazine, IndieWire, and TheWrap.com. One of their perks is that they will, it's a documentary, they will shoot your content for you. They'll make a 5-minute video on your behalf. One of the people is also an editor, so they'll edit your sizzle reel for a high-level perk. So it's a very simple thing to do. Just offer it up as a perk. Just remember what your services are worth, and make sure that perk is of an equal value, rather slightly greater value, and then probably limit the number of those that you'll offer up, because you can only do so many of those without driving yourself mad.
Right. Right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. The questions were very quiet today, but like I said, you did a great job just explaining everything in so much detail in the first place. Like Mark said, he's going to send me over a document that I'm going to put in the Dropbox folder for everyone. Like, we already have stuff for Patreon in there, and we also have coming up the Kickstarter live stream, which I believe is next week. Don't quote me on that. I'm not quite sure on the time, even though I'm the one who set it up. I'm sorry. But if for future events, guys, if you just log onto the community, there's an events tag and an events section in the Google Plus community. So just keep your eye on that. You'll see when the social media and YouTube best practices are, all the live streams when events are scheduled. So definitely keep an eye on the events tab to make sure you don't miss things like this. And if you do miss a live stream, it's always available on channel youtube.com/channelfrednetwork. And you could all rewatch it again, but it's much more valuable to see them live because you can ask your specific questions. And we're going to end this live stream here, but if you have any other questions that you think of later or we didn't quite get to or you're too nervous to ask publicly, you can email me and I can forward, either I can answer it or I can forward the question to Mark. He's going to have his contact info in that document that I'm going to put on Dropbox, so even if you don't want to go through me, you can talk to Mark directly. They're very open about answering things, as he was saying, which is great, and it's something that other crowdfunding sources don't really do so well. So Indiegogo is great with stuff like that. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I really want to thank Nate for coming on, and Mark, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you both. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Jennifer.
No
Thanks,
problem.
everybody.
Great. So have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait.